With the time being approximately 6:01, I'd like to call the July 24th Town Building Committee meeting to order. Try to say that 3 times fast. I get to gavel tonight. All right. First order of business, PCA 360 updates.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have an update for you. We prepared a PowerPoint presentation. It doesn't quite follow the order here, but with your discretion, I'll just sort of follow the PowerPoint, and then we'll fill in on the back end if we missed anything.
Sounds
if
like
that's
a plan.
okay.
Yep.
So we'll give you start with a schedule update. This is a schedule that we received from W.T. Rich. It's a very high-level Gantt chart of the project. The red line shows you where we are in the process right now. So the site clearing and site preparation work is, we're more than halfway through. Foundations for the public safety building are underway. They've been making some great progress, and I'll show you some photos of where things stand on that. Very soon, we're going to be, W.T. Rich will be working on the town hall foundations. So that's good news. And then it shows you the structural steel for the public safety will begin first, and then the town hall will follow after that in the month of October, November. And at the moment, it looks like we might even be doing a little bit better than scheduled from what we meet once a week. Justin and Jackie have been joining Contacts, PCA 360, and W.T. Rich in the construction meetings, and so what they've been reporting is that steel is going to start in early September. So we might even be bettering the schedule a bit. So,
Beautiful.
All good news. So that's that. There's an image. You can see the old clubhouse off in the background, the giant mound of dirt that you can see from Route 114. I was joking with Mr. Hood at the end of the table. We were going to call it Mount Hood.
I see what
I
you
did
there.
go up and measure it, 65 feet.
65 feet.
To the peak.
I like it.
Yep. So this is the front edge of the apparatus bay that you're looking down closest to 114. That's the concrete that was just poured recently. So that was this week. Here's an overview from the top of the hill looking back. You can begin to see the outline of the public safety building. Here's the front edge of the apparatus bays. This is the front corner of the public safety. This U shape here will be the back behind the apparatus bays, and there's where the parking secure park end of the public safety building will be this end here. And you can see over on this end, they're beginning to build up and prepare for the future parking lot. The secure parking and the communication tower will be in this area here. So you really are starting to see the outline of that. Great. And then the road coming in, they just started preparing the bedding. You can actually see the shape of the road bed is beginning to take place too. So that's that. And then we have, this is a time-lapse video, which I have on the, from the current side, on the website, the project website. So let me play this for you. This is just about a 2-week time period. We just got the cameras set up after the foundations had already begun and the site was cleared. So you're really only seeing about a 2-week period.
Okay. So
we'll be updating this about once a week. As the time-lapse video gets longer and longer. So it's on the Middleton-MMC website. And again, from this view, you can see the roadway coming in pretty pronounced.
Cool. Looks like a project.
So on Tuesday, they begun the demolition of the clubhouse. You can see they're just reaching into it now with the excavator. It was down at the end of the day yesterday, and they were starting loading out today. A little quick update on the budget. I printed out for you Jackie pointed out, a larger version of the budget that I normally present to you, and nothing significant to report this period. What you have in front of you printed is the detail. What I have up on the screen is the summary. We received our first construction requisition for the project. There was just over 1.7 million that was submitted yesterday and will be on the next warrant. So that's reflected here in the costs. Actual spent to date, even though that hasn't hit the warrant yet, I track it as soon as I submit it. We're at $5,801,000 so far, 7.8% of the total project budget that has been spent so far. So nothing, no moves just yet this month. Next month I will have a few. I would point out at the very top under administration, the third light blue bar down, owner's insurance. That was builder's risk insurance. And we did work with the town's provider for securing a builder's risk. We also, WT Rich, also worked with their vendor. And in the end, the best, most competitive price we had was through WT Rich. That's the good news. The bad news is the insurance companies were classifying the buildings as wood frame buildings, even though they're substantially constructed in steel and concrete deck and CMU block, but the roof is wood truss. And because of that wood truss, they classify the whole building as a wood frame. So the builder's risk policy was more than we were expecting. And I'll present to you a little later in our presentation the actual number, but it was a little over $300,000. But I'll explain to you how we're going to cover that cost. So that's the update here on project budget. Nothing significant really to report. We do have some amendments to contract that we would like to get approval on tonight for Context Architecture. And I've summarized some of the ones that were presented to this building committee on the 1st of May. So I just wanted to sort of recap some of these. And I know, Jackie, you and I talked just before this meeting, we're going to bring these to the select board at their next hearing at the end of the month and get these all executed so that for context. So the first one, 8A and 8B. I actually asked Context to break this into two. When we presented this to you before, it was one. We asked for it to be broken into two. There's really two very distinct scopes of work related to the MELD peak load shaving generator. The interior of the building, the electrical systems of the buildings are changing because we're changing the life safety generator. And that has an impact on the main switch gear, on the transfer switches, and the actual generator selection. We met with Justin to go over this, and we got a contingent approval to move forward on just that portion of it so that we could keep things going. Because one of the things that we learned from now that we have Wayne Griffin Electric on board, the lead times in some of these equipment is still quite long. And so we're under pressure not to impact the project schedule. We got to get these reselected and resubmitted on so that they can be ordered. So that had to be done very quickly so that we weren't impacting the project. So we received a verbal approval to proceed. And then we presented this to you in our last meeting too, so you're aware. So no vote was taken. But the other half of it is the site cost. And at the time when we had that proposal, we were still not fully clear on what the site impacts were. We were still working that out with MELD. We've received a lot of information. The feedback has been great. The dialogue has been excellent. Now we have a very good understanding. Our team knows exactly what we need to have for infrastructure to support the generator. So the cost did go up a little bit more because there is more work than we originally expected. So this cost here covers the site electrical and the civil work associated with the MELD generator. So we would like to get approval for both 8A and B, I guess. Well, 8A we already have contingent, but B we don't. So if we could get an approval on that. I don't know if you have questions, if you want to see the actual
I think we have it as an item, don't we?
proposal.
Don't we have that as an item further down?
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to handle this under like business and budget stuff, or did you want to move, take this later?
Folks, what do you want to do?
I'm happy to just dispose of it now if we want.
All right, sounds good. I'm happy to take a motion.
Kind of why I asked if we could have a little latitude on the sequence.
No problem. I didn't realize that was the sequence you were referring to.
Well, there's a few others coming at you, so.
All right, nice.
Yeah. So,
Last question,
Yes.
I think, we've had Context doing work to redesign things. Is that something, we haven't actually authorized or kind of come up with a number for that, or did we? I'm trying to remember. Right, those redesign costs to, as you were figuring this out from the,
Modeling cost. So that's that's what I call the MELD model, I believe, is what you're referring to.
okay,
And that's number 10, again, which we presented to you on the 22nd,
Right.
3D versions of this generator in situation, different
Yep.
options. So that, it was number 10, which was the 8,630.
Okay.
Again, we had a verbal approval to proceed. We had a building committee meeting coming up. We had to get you information so that you could react on it.
understood.
So we did get that approved. We'll be asking on number 10 for an addition, because when I presented it to you last, we were at option 3.
Yep.
We just circulated around option 7A.
Okay, yeah.
So there's been a lot of more adjusting to the location. I'm going to present that to you in a moment.
Okay.
And so there's some additional work that's been required of Context to support the positioning of it, which we'll report on in a little bit. We have some good news.
Okay. I know all this is still just, right, that's all being covered by MELD anyway, right? So this is just kind of more for our contract, we'll be reimbursed for that, correct? That's how that's working?
This is
Yep.
our end of it.
So I guess there's two elements of it. So some of the costs associated with installing this are going to be eating into the overall savings figure that Meld had originally proposed. Secondarily, I've had conversations, but no official confirmation yet, that they're agreeable as part of the MOU that we're going to set up for that to pick up a portion of some of this cost directly as well, just as a gesture of goodwill.
I will say that we are expecting.
Clarify that for me, because my understanding was that they were covering, I thought we were pretty clear on this, that they were covering all the costs for any redesign required to put this thing on the lot. That's what my understanding was.
So.
Is that what you understood? I mean, I could have misunderstood it, but.
I have to go back and look.
Yeah, I know when I reviewed the draft MOU, it was a split. That's what I recall.
Oh, it was a split.
It was
Okay,
a
so maybe
split.
I missed.
But what I will say is,
Yep.
the changes to the interior of the building and the reductions of the generator are going to yield a credit to the project, a
Oh, okay.
substantial credit.
Okay,
It's
good.
not gonna, it's,
So you're going to get a deduct change order on the construction side that will more than cover all these costs.
Sounds good to me.
We're expecting,
As long as we're getting
hundreds
that,
of
that's all.
thousands of dollars of savings is what we're,
So let's not squabble over tens of thousands when we're getting hundreds
that's
of
kind of
thousands.
the idea, yeah.
I'm good with that. I like the answer to that. Do we want to make
So,
a motion?
how do you want to handle this? You want to take 8B first, vote on it, and then move on to the next?
Uh,
I think you probably want to do each one individually, if it's okay with you.
I'm fine to take it that way. Do you want to just do all the melds as a lump? We can do that? To
So
move
the
each of
oth-
those, because we talked about them all?
So I can give you one. The other one that I have for you is 10. We have a slightly. So we have a verbal approval for 8,630. I received today a version 2 of that amendment that had an increase of another 2,845. So we don't have an approval on that, and that's because there's been a lot of tweaks and modifications to the location. Andrew's been drawing and redrawing the location of the generator for us. With everybody that reviews it, there's more input, and it's been great. It's been a very good process.
Right.
I really feel like the location we have now has received a lot of good input. It's required a lot more effort than they thought. So that's what the extra 2,805 is. So that's the two that we're asking for related to the generator tonight.
Okay, so we're asking for 8A, 8B, and 10 for the generator with the additional 2845. Is that what?
Yeah, it would be great if you did a vote like that. That way we have a vote of this committee covered, and then we can present it to the select board that way with your.
So the 8630 is not including the additional 2845.
I'm sorry, what number?
8630 for Amendment 10
Yeah.
includes, is V2 additional plus the 2845, or
No,
no?
this was the original.
That was the amount that
And then
Justin had
an
authorized.
additional.
Okay. Okay.
So So why don't we, you want to move all of those together?
Are we expecting additional costs around that? Are we done designing and redesigning? We haven't actually voted on the final placement of that, but
Well,
are we
we're
expecting
going to
additional
present to you what we believe is the final. There's still a few comments and tweaks, but it's very minor. I think we're at the point now where we can tell the designers to go. But, so I don't believe there's any more.
So Kyle, the drafts that I've seen have been consistent with what we were talking about, so.
Mostly just, we make a motion, we recommend this particular amount, and tomorrow it changes again, and
Yeah.
does our vote matter? If
I see
the
what you're saying,
cost
but
is continuing to change.
I think it's thousands of dollars at this point,
Okay.
like $8,000
Okay.
type of thing, so, right? Does that sound about right? If there is a tweak, but I don't think you're in the home
I
stretch.
think we're done studying it. We've really beat this one
We have to.
a lot. So I feel fairly confident that we're there.
Okay.
Good.
Mr.
Of course,
Chair,
we haven't presented it to you officially, which is coming. And so I'm sure there will be a few smaller tweaks.
Mr. Chair, I move that the building committee recommend the select board approve Amendment 8A for, we want dollar amounts as well, for $18,290.
Yep.
Amendment 8B for $20,350, and amendment number 10 for $8,630 plus an additional $2,845 at their next meeting.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you.
We're gonna talk through the other ones?
Yeah. So the next, we have a number 13 in the original proposal with context. There was some money allocated in the event we were going to do early release packages,
Yep.
which we ultimately decided not to do because of volatility with pricing. So this catches up on that and takes that 35,000 out of the contract.
Want to make a motion to give us more money?
I wasn't listening. I was writing a note.
It's a credit.
It's a credit for the, because
Unused
we didn't
fee.
do the early site package.
Yeah, it was a credit for unused
13.
fee to $35,000.
This is incoming money.
Yeah.
Yep. Savings.
Yeah. And so what do we want our motion to be? Just to accept it or to?
Accept amendment number 13.
And this is for the select board to accept.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I move that the building committee recommend to the select board that they accept the receipt of $35,000 related to amendment number 13.
In a second.
Second from Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moves unanimously.
And the last one we have, 14, we received review comments from Mass DOT. They asked for our radiuses on the entrance drive to be modified. And so we had to update our plans and send them in. So it was some time for a civil engineer to make the modifications. So $1,100 to update the plans based on Mass DOT review comments.
And was that change, is that anything detrimental to
No.
No.
incoming and outgoing?
It's the entrance
widens
to the
the
site. It just
radius.
widens the radius as you're coming into the site to turn in.
It's the drive
nothing to do with
into the site
apparatus.
versus the apparatus.
Yeah, it's the entrance drive, the main drive into the property. So just makes it easier to come in.
I move that the building committee recommend to the select board that they authorize amendment number 14 to the context architecture contract for the sum of $1,100.
Second.
Second from Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before you move on, can you just briefly tell me about something about the septic?
I was gonna ask that second. You didn't give me a vote, though. I'm assuming you're a yay.
Huh?
On the last one, are you yes?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
okay, all right, yeah, all right, so that moves unanimously. Let's jump to septic redesign amendment 9, and I think we talked about that.
Okay, sure. That had to do with the flow rate at the multi-purpose room at the town hall. When the design was submitted, it was submitted as business use. And the town Board of Health said that it was a, what was the description? Trying to remember.
Function hall?
Yeah, function hall, thank you. And it had a different flow rate, which increased the size of the septic field. Also required the design to be a dosing style system.
Yep.
In that, so that had an impact on the design, so it had to be redesigned.
Oh, that's accurate. That's,
Huh?
you were spot on that. That was
Okay,
good.
good.
All right, that's good. There you go.
So the septic field then will be adequate for both buildings?
Nope, well, there's two separate systems. So they have two separate systems.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really hard to hear with that on.
Yeah.
So there's two different fields. How is the septic working though? It's, you've got two separate fields and you've got holding tanks?
Yep, there's holding tanks, and then it goes to what, this has to now be what's called a pressure dosing system. So there's a pump chamber that's put in, and then that goes into these kind of chambers that are like half moons, and it sprays it up into the half moons to dose it evenly across the field.
We won't have our own treatment plant there.
No, nope, both buildings are gonna be just separate, typical septic systems. We don't meet the groundwater discharge permit requirement.
And those tanks will have to be pumped on a regular basis?
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yeah, no
Just like a
different
regular-
than any other septic system.
Yep.
It's really,
Distinct difference between the one at my house and what this will be.
Big time. So what the difference is here is that because it added that extra flow, you're required by Title V to actually dose it with a pump. So they had to design a pump, expand the fields a little bit. That's what this $5,000 is for.
Okay.
Which I've reviewed and looked at it too. I'm good with it.
yep. Okay. You want to take a vote, just so that we're covered, for the select board, I think they would like to hear from you that you've reviewed it and you're making your recommendation.
Sure.
Yeah, and this is something we had talked about, not the details, but we had talked about this in what, maybe May?
We did.
I don't think it was last month. It was
That's right, it's all submitted,
while ago.
and it's
Okay.
been accepted.
Yep.
So.
I move that the building committee recommended the select board to approve amendment number 9 to the context contract for a total of $5,500.
Second.
Second from Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. All right.
And then I've crossed out Amendment 12, which was the irrigation. You asked, last time we were together, you asked us to go and see if there was a way to do a design build with the landscape contractor on the project, and then also to see if Bowler might have another vendor that they could use. Bowler doesn't have anybody else that they can go to, but we did get a design build proposal. So I just wanted to see the figure, the 58 million, or 58,000 rather. 58,000.
Yeah. For
Because
design.
It was a high number, but now I want you to see what it is when you put the cost of the whole design build together. So we have this proposal that we received. Tom has worked very hard on this, Tom Hood, with their landscape contractor, LEI. They provided a preliminary plan that has 49 zones, I believe.
49 zones.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of heads.
So in order for them to really truly design a system, there's still some variables that they need to know.
Yep.
They need to know the flow rate of the well, what's the recovery rate,
Yep.
like basically the capacity of the well and so forth. So Tom is working with Middleton Well Company.
Middleton Drilling and Well Company.
Cool.
And they are actually on site today, working on getting the data that they would need to actually finalize a design. And then there's some other additional costs in addition to this proposed price from the landscaper of $190,000. We'd still have to get a chamber to go over the wellhead.
Yep.
We'd have to have some sort of a cabinet where we could bring all the controls, a
Understood.
weatherproof cabinet.
Yep.
So there's some other associated work, some electrical work and so forth.
Yep.
But I think, the 190 for nearly the whole site.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
It's substantial.
Yep. Yep.
Now, Jackie, I know you wanted to make some clarifications to this, that whatever system we do, it's well-based and would be subject to the same parameters that the town. If there's a, watering ban, then the system wouldn't be able to operate.
We don't have that for wells, though.
We
so-
want to set a good example, is the point, Bill.
That is something that I would,
If we don't want it, I think the question is, do we want it or not? I
mean,
posed it,
that's-
I
yeah,
posed
your
it previously. We have a town green, not a town brown, so whatever you want to call it and how you want to do it. Entirely up to you folks. I think it's, do we want to table it and discuss it, again, or how do you want to do it? I'm indifferent on it here. I wouldn't abandon a well if we're gonna use it for irrigation, that was the point. So if we're not gonna use irrigation and we choose as a town not to do it, I understand the pros and the cons, so.
What do those blue squares represent?
Those are each
Those are
zone.
zones.
Yeah, the dot, sorry, I can switch to the PDF.
At one point in time, I think I recall a discussion of maybe not doing the entire site, but just
Yeah.
the kind of bowl out front where the gazebo would be and,
And the plantings in front of the
Yeah.
building.
right,
Yes, I mean, I think that makes sense to me,
and then maybe finding some drought-resistant
stuff for everything else, yeah.
natives
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, scaling that back makes sense. I mean, just looking at the number, the cost to design it was $60,000. The cost to essentially build the whole thing with probably a little bit more is, 4 times the cost of that. It was still a huge savings by doing a design build, so. We definitely are seeing substantial savings. If we want to just look at I always thought it was just going to be for the green alone. That's what I was envisioning.
Yeah, we looked at, when we provided a very diagrammatic scope of work for them to price, we had just picked up this front area here, the town green, and then the area, there's a lot of plantings over here and around this. They took that and went
A little, they
further.
might have went a little overboard, you thinking?
They
Yeah,
were
they went a lot
concerned,
further,
yeah,
but-
they were concerned with the asphalt. We have asphalt berms in the parking lot, there's a lot of heat generated.
Yep.
So what they did is they designed what they felt was the right system for the project, and then from there, we can value engineer it out.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the area where they added, in the back parking lot. So they certainly, I think this would be the Cadillac version, and as much as you would ever want to do,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
can
I think
certainly
you can
dial it
mix a
back
lot.
from here.
Yep.
I think you could definitely knock off probably half of it, but,
But I think it's sort of I think your point is the conceptual.
I mean, conceptually, it's a
or not?
better a much better deal. It's probably gonna be around $100,000, right? I mean, you're gonna nix probably the back half of it and the stuff by the, I get the concept that it's by pavement, but, I mean,
Yeah.
I do a lot of plantings adjacent to pavement all the time.
I would
As
get
long as you
rid
pick
of,
the right stuff.
certainly all of this stuff, around the parking lot,
Yeah.
you know.
And the stuff behind the town hall, I mean, those are all gonna be.
Oh, Chris,
drought-resistant.
you wanted to keep this? Well, we don't even know we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Oh, here?
Yeah, between the building and town hall.
Mr.
That's
Chair, I
out.
think it'd be great to get our DPW director to take a look at it as well, because he oversees all of our town fields and watering, and it'll be his long-term
Yep.
operating.
Sure, for sure. I mean, I just think, keep in mind, policy-wise, the town voted on it to not regulate wells. So we do have that, but
The
I get
town
it,
voted on what?
to not regulate wells individually for the town. So we're gonna-
2019.
2019. When we got this project approved, the same meeting, they voted on wells.
But I thought we just heard that it was going to be regulated.
Well,
No.
I misunderstood. I thought
We'd
that
like
was
to
the
set a good
policy.
example,
I
because,
set a good example. That wasn't, I'm sorry, my bad. I didn't-
yeah, it's not the law, just trying to play by the rules.
But if we're gonna spend all that money and then not be able to use it, what's the sense in spending the money?
Wouldn't be that we wouldn't use it, Paul, it would just be that we would keep an eye on it. When we're in significant periods of drought, Paul has strategies that he uses to keep the fields green without overwatering. And that's why I would ask that the committee have our DPW superintendent look at it before they make a final choice.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that's gonna be living with whatever we do.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that at all. Yeah. I mean, I think I would also just look to have it focus within the green. I mean, the idea was the green.
If we're impacted by the watering ban, if the town property is impacted by that watering ban is in existence every year from the beginning of the summer to the end of the
Oh,
summer.
believe me, I know.
So what are we accomplishing?
Because there are different levels to the ban, so not all of it means no watering at all. It's about, we do night watering, we do other things. There are different levels to it.
Yeah, if you stand out there with your hose or a watering can.
Are you volunteering?
No, I'm not.
I just think, that's why I think it'd be good to have our superintendent of public works take a look at it, because
I agree with that.
works hard to keep all of our lawns green all summer long.
Yep.
And I just want to think about it, the long-term operating for him and how that's going to factor into his current operation.
Yeah, I mean, unless anybody really feels strongly about having water somewhere else, I mean, I would just focus on the green alone. That's it. I mean, that was my understanding is what we were gonna look at was. I don't think we need to worry about the plants and stuff. I mean, I've used them, like I said, and plenty of, as long as you pick the right plants right next to pavement, I do it all the time, and they're fine.
Yep.
So, I mean, Tom, I think you've picked half of them in your old house that are drought resistant, so that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's our next step? Paul Goodwin to review it? Is that-
Yeah, we can get that set up.
Okay. And
Just
then.
have him give us a
I think,
recommendation.
And the committee's recommendation is just the town green?
I would say just the town green, unless you guys want to water everything else, but I'm not seeing a need for it.
No, I would say the green, and I would actually be more conservative and just say, again, if there's times, I would like us to be an example to others, and it's one where I would almost just say, unless it's gonna degrade to the point where people can't even use the green, or it's dead,
Giant dust ball, well, I think that's kind of what would.
then water it
potent-
certainly, but if it's getting a little bit brown, I would still err on not.
He keeps the other stuff green, and he has irrigation in places, so, I mean, I think he just kind of probably
Just
follow
want
the
to fit it
same.
into the scope of how we currently do things.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so I think there's a benefit to it.
Okay.
I think at least having the ability to do it for the green is useful.
Okay.
Great. All right, so we'll work with Paul Goodwin to review, and then we'll sort of circulate this around to see sort of like what we're going to get rid of, what we'll keep, and then we'll ask for another updated price.
Great.
Okay, great. All right, well, that, see, one thing sort of led to the next one. I was preparing the presentation, so that's why I kind of organized it this way.
Yep.
And then this is another update for the committee. We did receive 3 response to our request for proposals for security, closed circuit TV, and intrusion alarm systems. Right now, this is our bid leveling. Signet is the lowest. There was a meeting today with the IT team to review the proposal. They have questions. So we're going to, they're going to work on reviewing Signet and Convergent and get some questions, we'll get some answers. So we're still in the vetting process. So this is where we're at right now. I do have in the budget, we made some moves. I have 580,000 allocated right now for
Yep.
this, and Signet is below that. Convergent's just a little bit over.
Are they the preferred vendor for the town? Are they the ones that are doing our
There
work
is no
now?
real
We
preferred
don't- we
vendor.
don't really
It's
have
more of
any-
a Vigilon is the system that is used now.
Okay,
Convergent was proposing a Vigilon. Signet was proposing Genetec.
okay.
So,
It's kind of using the same system or something, is that the idea?
It's a manufacturer that creates what we would be using within the scope of the provider.
Gotcha.
But the main question that we asked Brian and Alex to get from the 2 vendors today was the ongoing maintenance costs.
Makes sense.
Because we need to factor that into our operating budget, no matter what we
Good idea.
pick.
no action for the committee, just an update
Little
to
heads
let
up.
you know where we're at.
Cool.
So it was a great opening. We're happy with the
Beautiful,
results.
beautiful. I like that.
All right, MELD generator placement. I have the latest and greatest sketch, but I did mark 2 items on this to show the comments that you had, Bill. I just wanted to make sure
Yep.
that that becomes part of it. I have relayed these comments
Yep.
to the team. There's a catch basin here that collects all of the water of this parking lot, and there's a pipe that goes straight to this detention basin. And Bill raised the concern about making sure that this pipe in the future, if it needed to be maintained, could. So we're going to disassociate this slab for the generator from the slab of the cooling units.
Yep.
And we're going to push the cooling units further away
Yep.
to create a gap here between the two.
So we can
So in
dig
the
through it.
future, if it needed to be replaced, so we could do that. So we're not placing any equipment over piping.
Yeah, so just keep in mind, though, if they're constructing that, though, between these 2 slabs, you don't want the slab to be undermined if they're trying to construct it. So wherever they are, I mean, I'd like to see something maybe going vertical, or there's ways to either bury sheet piling or do like a concrete little mini wall or something, or even a small sleeve pipe, so that you don't have to really get in there. You
Right.
could even do that, I'd be fine with that.
Yep.
Might be better than moving it, because think about it, if I'm trying to excavate through that, in all likelihood, I'm undermining both of those slabs anyway.
Maybe just put a larger sleeve and run the pipe through.
That'd be my preference, I
Sure.
think. That's the better way to maintain it,
Okay,
so.
all right, thanks, duly noted. So the plan has changed a bit. We lost 4 spots in the secure parking area, but we were able to pick those up here. So
Okay.
there's no net change in the parking counts. We were able to take the dumpster that was originally lined up on this drive aisle and move it over here.
Yep.
This whole parking lot has shifted 20 feet towards the left of the screen.
Yep.
And that allowed this space here so that we could get the cooling unit in. We could get 8-foot clearance so that for servicing of the cooling unit and also for free airflow.
Yep.
We have arborvitae, row of them for screening. And then we're going to put 4 trees along here too, so that as you're driving along the road coming into the site, they'll give you some screening as well towards that direction. So the committee, when we met last, we had shown you the generator was going in the vertical position on this drawing. It's now going across.
Yep.
And the reason that was an advantage over the previous option is that it's narrow to the town green.
I think that was our preference at the meeting, right?
It
Kyle,
was.
I think you had asked for that at the last one,
We didn't show it
too.
to you, though. We didn't have it modeled.
Right, but we had asked for it, though, I
Yeah.
believe, right? Yeah, yeah.
And so to the neighbor, off this side, they only see the narrow end of it, and from the town green, you see the narrow end.
Sure.
And then behind all this bioswale is a tree stand, so it has a backdrop, too. So I think we've arrived at a pretty good location. all around.
Grading works? Is that the top of the swale? Or if that's the bottom of the
That's the
swale?
top.
That's the top, good.
The
Okay, good.
delineation is
Yep.
the top.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
perfect,
And so there's still 8 feet from the unit to the top of the swale.
good. And you can make the swing in, I know that you kind of push some of the stuff, still keeping the drive aisle coming in the same?
Yes.
I know you moved everything over, but they still can make that turn. We looked at
Yep.
that.
We haven't changed that at all.
Yeah, this radius got a little bit bigger to facilitate the turn-in.
Yep, makes
We're
sense.
taking some of the equipment associated with the generator and putting it across the drive aisle.
That's fine.
So that we're not impacting the wetland area, or not the wetland, the bioswale
Yep.
area. So there'll be a transformer and a switch. And then one of the other pieces of equipment shown in this diagram actually is going to be next to the town hall.
Okay.
And then the gas meter, Meld is working with National Grid. At the moment, we believe we can place the gas meter here at this pad and bring the line in across.
One question on police and fire, have you folks reviewed? Do you know
I
about
have
this?
not shared it with police or fire yet.
Okay.
I wanted to get your blessing and see what your input was, if you're okay with it, and then, we'll continue to solicit some comments from them.
What's in the green box next to
It's
the?
the communication tower.
Okay, that's, okay.
Yeah, the green, I don't know, it's just the fence is,
Yep.
it's on a layer in AutoCAD, it turned green.
And then we've got 3 other boxes that I can't quite read the description.
This is the building transformer for public safety. This is the switch that's associated with it.
Yep.
And this other rectangle below is the generator, which is a 60 kW generator for the
Okay.
public safety building, substantially smaller than what it was.
Good.
And so the concerns that the police chief had in terms of having, a-
Unit right there, yeah.
an unsafe area as people are exiting the building, that should be small enough to not block anyone's view.
Another option we might consider to that point is maybe put it vertically and then, put the switch there, just so that it's not creating such a wall to that door. So that we could do that too.
It's whatever, I think it's whatever the chief would want, honestly, on how he
Yeah.
wants to
I
configure
think
that
maybe
stuff.
when we present it to him, we might show that, just because that was a concern.
Yeah, I'd just like to make sure we just get at least a sign off from both chiefs, just to make sure you guys are all good with it.
Sounds good, we will do that. Yep.
Yep.
And then I think you have some good news to report from U.S. Fish and Wildlife?
Yes, this particular strategy with the L shape has been signed off by U.S. Wildlife in
Yep.
writing.
I saw the
So
letter today, this is
everybody
good.
has a copy of that, so.
Very clear that they understand the whole project, so I'm good. Good on
Yep.
my end, that checks that box from last meeting.
So I guess we kind of need, I know contingent approval, we still got to get input from police and fire, but
Yep.
are you happy with where we are with the plan?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the best you can do, so
Yeah.
this, in my mind, would be a good design.
Yeah, I think of all the places on site, this is the the best option.
There you go. And Meld, if you're listening, thanks for working with us
Yeah.
on this.
Just
I'm
a
sure-
question, and I'm not recommending, not asking for any changes, I'm just curious, you said you lost 4 parking spots in the secure parking, but you picked them up down below. What did that leave you up in the secure?
I don't have the total number. I don't know the number off the top of my head. The spaces that were lost were EV charging. So they weren't, I don't know how useful they were really to secure parking because they were dedicated to EV.
Well, we were asking to move them out anyway, right? That was a
Yeah.
discussion that we had last time that Kyle picked up.
So all the so those 4 spaces are EV.
Okay.
Were moved up to here.
Yep.
Yep.
That also works with our grant. In order to qualify for the grant, all of the spaces had to be on the public side.
Yep.
Of the fence, so.
Makes sense.
So it worked double duty for us. We lost them, but we had to move them anyways.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
I
Do
think
you
I'm
want to
good.
take a vote? How do you want to handle this?
I'm happy to take a vote. How do you want to, what do you think, Kyle? What do you think, Paul?
I'm trying to just think what
I mean,
Option 7A is the plan that we're looking at right now.
we would like, okay, so, I move to the building committee, I move that the building committee, authorize Context to proceed with option 7A for the placement and design of the meld generator pending sign off by the police and fire chief.
Perfect.
I like it.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously.
Okay, thank
Who
you.
thought that we hit the home stretch on that one? That was a good one.
Yeah.
Thank
It was a long one. It was a long one ongoing.
All right, next item I have for you is, we have 2 alternates in our GMP budget that are in our contract, but we have said, hold on them until we've had time to consider them.
Yep.
One of those is the gazebo, and so we'd like to talk to you tonight about the gazebo and just start that conversation. So what I did is, I put together a presentation of the existing gazebo, just to give you some thought in your head before I show you the new. So I received drawings from the building department of the gazebo. I went and took photographs of it.
It's amazing
And
you found plans.
took a look at the quality,
nice.
where it was, and I think all things considered, it's in relatively good shape. Underneath the structure, it's pressure treated lumber. It's still looking. You can still see the tags from when it was bought, so it's not all that old. It doesn't seem like it's been around too long. There's some age. It needs just a coat of paint, but that's nothing more. That's cosmetic, nothing substantial. It's set on 10-inch sonotubes. There's a sleeper that's put on the ground at the midpoint to help take some of the bounce out of the floor.
Good.
Overall, other than, this is probably the worst corner that you can see, just a little bit of paint and caulking, and I think you still get some serviceable life on it. You can see some checking on some of the vertical posts,
Yep.
but definitely nothing significant.
Okay.
So all in all, I think it's in good shape. What was proposed is larger than what is there. It's a 24-foot, it's not exactly a circle, but it's what do you call it, an octagon. So it's a 2-tier octagon, so it's much more ornate, and it's designed to be flat at grade, so the floor is paving, not what you have now. So this is a much
okay.
more
Different, okay.
accessible, open, no railings around it, larger, Jackie had mentioned to me, is like that field you have behind the current town hall really doesn't have much shade. You could leave what's there as the bandstand shade structure for that field and put in new. That was sort of your, when you and I were talking about as a
Yeah.
potential
Well, and
suggestion.
the other item I just want to remind the building committee about is we do have a significant amount of CPA funding for the town common, and that can only be used for open space and recreation purposes. And that's, I think, the mindfulness of the CPC at the time was that the gazebo would be part of it. I also will say, the current gazebo is not accessible. It works for right now, but it's across the field. You can get in the back way, but a performer couldn't be accessible. And the other thing that we talked about, and Justin and I talked about today, is we have the money from CPA for the town common. We would need to go back and get an appropriation if we rip this gazebo out to either,
Fix up the hole.
yes, thank you.
That's what I was gonna.
So I think that's where the other pieces comes into play, and there are certain things like the structure and the pavement and the electricity that we're gonna have to do either way. So the question is the apples and oranges of the cost of moving the current gazebo versus the cost of just the new structure that's larger and more accessible. And that's just the two pieces I wanted to bring to your attention. And thanks to Brian for doing a lot of the homework on this.
Yeah, I think the issue was that I heard from historical commission members, that's where it came from. So that's the reason we were even, I think, identifying this as a potential salvage situation. From my perspective, personally, I'm indifferent. I don't know why that was built. I saw the name, I don't know the gentleman. I'm sure there's reasons
You're
behind it.
sitting in his library.
Was sitting in his library? Well, there you go. So, I think there's some historical significance. If it's a rededication, maybe that's okay. I don't know. Maybe it's a conversation with the historic folks. Jackie, I'm happy to go with you if that's what we gotta do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of the historical folks and the select board at the end of the day. I think it's
Without a doubt.
a big decision.
Yeah.
But I just think we needed to continue to keep you all in the loop with the options. And if you're in, as a committee, the consensus is that you're indifferent, then we can certainly talk to we want to keep the historical commission happy. I don't know if they've had it on an agenda, or if it's just been,
One member's on the ZBA with me. That's
Oh, okay.
where it came from.
so I can shoot them an email and we can maybe,
I always, anything I hear, obviously I'd wanna just pass along, so
Yeah,
that's kind of where
absolutely.
we're at, so.
Do we have any
do you-
ballpark numbers regarding what it would cost to build new versus what it would cost to move that other structure?
I should have, yeah, well, we have the cost for the new, I don't have it at my, I don't have it right here, I have to look it up.
Well, maybe
Well,
we
what I
just,
asked-
if we table,
Oh,
if we,
sorry.
I was just gonna say, if we table to a new meeting, we can just kind of get all that information together
Yeah.
and make the decision. But, I mean, folks, what's your opinion on it? I mean, if folks in the historical group really have an opinion on it, and, I mean, I don't personally have one. I don't know if either of you two have, strong opinions either way.
If we built new, we're not suggesting that we tear down the old, so the old one will still
But-
be there, it just won't be the centerpiece of
For,
the.
yeah, I hear you, but that's for a select amount of time, because keep in mind that they're authorized to do the study to sell off the property, so at some point, that probably won't be what it is.
That would then be someone else's problem.
Yeah, it's just when things are dedicated to people, it's kind of difficult, so we, personally, I don't mind tabling it to that conversation. There's nothing that says it couldn't be moved to the back 40 when this, down the road. There's a bunch of alternatives
Yeah, I
as to
don't-
whether or not it has to be included in our project or not. I heard the issue. I wanted to raise it, so at least everyone's being heard, that's all.
Yeah, I don't think it matters a lot to me one way or the other, but it would be very helpful to have an idea of what the moving cost would be versus building, and, but
The
I don't
other-
have, I don't have a problem with building new and leaving that there for, I think they still go there, and is there a soccer field down there and so
Well,
on?
there is right now, yeah, and I think, is that going to be there in 10 years? I don't know.
Well,
That's kind of
again,
the thought,
it's a future board's problem.
So early indications that we've received in terms of community input has led us to believe that those fields will never go anywhere.
Okay, okay, good enough.
If that's helpful. So what I
Yep.
would recommend is if the team can run some numbers about the cost of moving the existing one versus building and pulling out any parts that don't really help that number and bring it back to an August meeting. you'd still-
Does it even matter if it's staying?
Well, if you flat out just want to let it stay, then no.
I'm not saying we should move it. If that's gonna stay as town land and we're keeping the soccer field, and that's gonna be there, I would say the problem solved. I would just assume that in the future they would be sold off, so,
Sure.
that's kind of where I was at.
Heard that mostly recreation was the preferred answer, so that's why I was just
They
assuming.
prefer what?
That community input from the workshops and things like that kind of largely leaned on keeping the town land there for the recreation and the soccer fields.
Yeah, I've
So-
got no problem leaving there either, if that's how we want to resolve it right now.
I think if we're gonna keep it and it's gonna be there, that's great, and my personal preference is that it is for now, and that could be something where if we decide to go sell it, well, that's then another opportunity to decide, are we moving it somewhere else?
That might be the decision, so
I
maybe
think
that's.
it's
so
a
why don't we
nice
just
thing
do
to
that?
have at the space today, and we're not gonna have.
Okay,
And I would note that we've heard some rumblings through the community at one meeting, several meetings ago, a price was floated out, but it included like the electrical, other site work. It wasn't the true cost of that actual, like the structure we're looking at. And it really raised some eyebrows. So if we could try to ferret out what the actual number is for this structure installed specifically, that'd be helpful.
yep.
We can do that. I would want to, add to that pricing, repairing it and making it accessible. So you can't.
Well, the
just-
other one has a ramp, it has a
Yeah,
ramp,
the-
so
the old one has a
it looks like it's
ramp, yeah.
accessible.
So, but.
I just think you can't get to it accessible.
Oh, there's no way to get to
You
the
can't
ramp.
get to it, you
There's
can
no
get,
accessible route.
Ah,
Uh,
okay.
You can get on it, but not.
But yeah, it's like a back.
yeah, you just can't get to it.
I know,
The-
It's a good design, I like that one.
Other number to consider in terms of the cost of the old is, as you pointed out, if there's a hole that has to be filled later, if we do go move it, yes, it's not coming out of this project's budget, but the town is gonna end up spending tens of thousands of dollars or whatever else to
Yeah.
go fill the hole. And so we should consider that as well, because if, that might actually bring it closer.
Well, let me shake this one out so we can make a decision and maybe not have to continue. So this is what I'm thinking, right? From hearing what everybody said, it looks like this is gonna stay for a while. If the town decides to sell off, Memorial Hall, and they're gonna retain that property anyway, at least the soccer field, then it's a moot point, right? If they decide to sell that off in the future, and that's the only way they can sell the property, which might happen, this could always be moved into the back half of the site too. It doesn't have to be in the promenade of our town common. It could be another one that's a destination within the walking trails and stuff in the back. So from my perspective, I'm thinking we don't need to make a decision on it. Let's not look at moving it
That's all in.
and move forward with the proposed one. If
Only question is, we're gonna eventually hand off the conservation restrictions to another organization. Will we be able to actually put a gazebo there at that point?
Could write it in.
could write it in,
Okay.
just write it in. So that
We won't
gives it
have power.
flexibility.
There's also
We won't be
space
running
before
power,
the
things like
restriction
that, but-
starts too.
Yeah.
We can work with Greenbelt.
Yeah, there's also, you could also put one maybe on the edge as like the entrance going in. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to
wanted to make
skin
sure
the
we-
cat,
we
I think, in
wouldn't-
my mind, so. I think we can punt on the relocation for now, see that it's gonna stay anyway.
Yeah,
Does that seem fair with staff?
Have it in there, the breakdown, right?
That was 84,000, yeah.
That's not, yeah, I thought it was about 100 roughly.
Yeah.
So I had, the all-in cost with the foundations, paving, whatnot, is 248. Tom and I
believe
feel like it's somewhere
85.
between 85 and 100,000 for the structure itself.
That's much better.
For 20, you said it was 24 feet,
Yeah, 24-foot
diameter.
octagonal.
or whatever
Yeah.
the diameter for
Yeah.
octagons is.
Yeah, so why don't we go this route? It doesn't have to be the centerpiece piece. It could be like maybe an area as you're entering. Nothing says you can't have 2 gazebos and 2 event areas for us, 2. So I don't think any of those, there's nothing that precludes us. We still have land out there.
Yeah, and it's already in contract. They were not, it's not a change order. It's
Yeah.
already baked in.
No,
for
I
the
hear you.
project.
Yeah, I mean, this, you hear where I was coming from, so.
It's a very different style. The one that's exists is a platform that's raised up. This one is, that is proposed in the design is at grade.
It's like more of a pavilion
Yes.
than a gazebo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think too, because the audience will be tiered the way the bowl of the green is versus the current gazebo where you need the height for a performer
Okay.
when we do the concerts.
And then the proposed design even gives us the option, would we end up having picnic tables, something there for times when there's no events scheduled, where
Yeah.
you could actually go sit or have seating and do other things that you may not want to be moving on and off the raised gazebo.
I very much like the idea of building new.
Okay. So it sounds like I'm indifferent, you are indifferent, you want to build new. Let's just build this. We'll evaluate this down the road. When the town decides to sell it off, well, we won't, because we'll be off this board, which will be great. So then somebody else will make that decision, so.
That's what I said.
All right, see, it just took me a little time to come around to you, that's all.
Do you want to
Make a
make a
motion.
vote on that?
Let's take a vote.
What was the, there wasn't an amendment for that, what was it? How did we
No.
have it?
It was an adult.
Yeah, it's,
That was what I was looking
We'll
for the
vote to indefinitely postpone moving the existing
Well,
gazebo?
that's not
something like
even.
We don't need to do that, we can
discussion.
authorize the
that? Construction of the new gazebo?
construction, or authorize WT Rich to proceed with the,
Proposed.
right, because you had, or
Alternate 3 in the
Steve had
GMP
that help,
contract.
yeah. What was it? It was alternate 3?
Mm-hmm.
So I moved that the building committee authorize WT Rich to proceed with alternate 3, the gazebo. Need a dollar amount?
Yeah, it's already baked into the contract,
Okay.
so you don't have to,
Just
it's not
authorize.
even a dollar amount. I
Just
just need
authorize them to
to
do the
say,
work.
proceed with the work.
Yep, okay. Authorize them to proceed with the work for alternate 3.
May I second that?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously.
We'll come to you next meeting about the permeable parking areas, 2A, alternate 2A, 2B. We're not going to do that tonight.
Those don't have anything, irrigation will not change the state of those at all, right? Because they're going to be structured.
Yeah, it's a, it's a.
So it doesn't matter,
Like an egg
it doesn't matter
crate
if
type
the organic
that
material
you-
is.
Yeah,
is
it won't
entirely
affect,
dead.
no, it has nothing to do with that. All right, the only other thing I had, but we can do this as part of the construction update, is this handout for some of the PCOs that we've received on the project, so I can wait and do that. Do you want to circle back to the agenda and just see what we missed? in the-
Seeing communication tower update, alerting vendor update, did we cover that?
Well, communication tower update is, we had borings completed, a single boring completed last week,
Cool.
which allows them to finish their design. We should have finalized tower design foundation drawings at the end of the month.
Cool.
They're expecting to put the foundation in for the tower mid-August, which is right on, in
Schedule.
line with the construction schedule. So we're not holding them up, which is good. AV vendor is Valley Communications. We should have shop drawings and submittals from them at the end of the month. So that's that. Mass DOT permit status, we completed the 25% review and provided a response to comments last week.
Yep.
I don't know the timeline of when we'll get anything back.
What
I'm done
month?
guessing on
But
that
I
Mass
would,
DOT.
it's usually like a year, so when did
So
we
we're at
submit?
8 months right now. for
Yeah,
a
so this is
curb
when they
cut.
start really ramping up their reviews
Oh.
and get it, start to really move.
Well, one of their review comments is they felt that we had too many driveways into the site until we realized they were looking at the sidewalks.
Oh, I was there, I read them.
Very in-depth review.
Yes, thorough, yes.
Did we thank them for the money they've given us for the Peabody Street Bridge?
Yes.
We did that totally.
Alerting vendor, we don't have an update. It's just awfully early in the project. He's now gotten to the point where when Alex calls him, he hangs up the phone on Alex and he won't answer. So it's just he's too busy, and we're so far away from him doing any work. So I won't have anything on those people for a while.
Okay, security, we already covered. Construction items, you want to do that?
Well, EV, just a really quick
Oh,
EV charger grant, we received comments, we updated the plan and sent them an updated drawing. So at least they've received and they've reacted, so that's good.
Good
We
things.
expect an answer in 30 days. So that's about a $100,000 grant that we should get.
Nice.
Security vendor proposals I presented to you already, and then construction item PCO review, and that's the handout I have for you here.
Let's do it.
This is WT Rich's summary for PCOs. So if you look, the fourth column in, or no, let's see, first column is the numbers I'm going to refer to, WTR PCO number 1. So number 1, oil tanks at the clubhouse, they were above ground, they were unforeseen, and so we had to have those removed. It was a relatively small amount of money, 4,600 or 961.
I mean, they were below ground, right?
They were above ground
Okay.
It's still $4,000 to move them.
to remove them. Yeah, they had oil in them too.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was just not in our hygienist scope. He wasn't looking at those.
Okay.
And it was just not identified in the drawings, so it was not captured in the demo scope.
We don't get to sell vintage oil back, huh? And we don't get to sell vintage oil back.
Vintage oil, I like that. That's a good term.
Fencing, the scrim is the green cover. That was just a scope gap. That was covered under the CM's contingency. We felt it was important, being right on Route 114, it was a main road, distraction and whatnot, it was better to have that. So we added that in. And then
I am
another.
disappointed in that. I like to gawk every time I drive by, and it's really hard
We
to
didn't
do
want to
that.
create.
Pretty sure
an
Nick had said you're putting up the scrim, right? Yeah, Nick
I
even
can see
mentioned
the
it.
eagles landing on the mountain too.
Yeah. So the next item, 3, elevator lowering. This is like a coordination item with, now that we're changing how we're doing the elevator with the generator. You know, we're going to do self-lowering. It was really just a scope coordination item, so we needed to add that to the project. It's covered under an allowance that we have for catching some of these design coordination items in the GMP. So it's no cost to the town, you know, no additional cost. We did encounter ledge, PCO4, at the public safety building in the front corner, northeast corner. So they removed a section of it, and as they got into it, there was more than they realized. So we have a second one that came in '07. So together, those were both covered under an unsuitable soil allowance we have in the GMP budget. Yep. So again, those are not any owner costs. And then the green ones I skipped over, we're still working through. I don't have any costs yet. Those are just placeholders. 8 and 9 are also placeholders. We're working with W.T. Rich on that. You see ledge removal number 3. That just has to do with the incoming water service into the public safety building. Literally, there's another few feet that we might have to remove a piece of ledge just to get the pipe in and upturn. So it's not a lot of time, but anytime any potential item is seen, it's tracked. So we'll see if it really is necessary. Number 10, site lighting bases. This was another scope coordination item between the electrical contractor and the site contractor that was not caught during the leveling. So this is a contingency item. This is the owner's CM contingency, so this does not affect the town. It's not a change order to the town. Number 11 is builder's risk policy. I mentioned before, $332,000, that includes terrorism, which we talked about in the meeting, that was important to have. It was small money, it was worth doing. The prices we got through the town were over $600,000.
Okay.
So this is, and the town's vendor spent 2 months?
2 months looking
2
for
months,
more quotes.
and received probably a dozen quotes.
Wow.
And the best they could do was about $600,000. So W.T.
rough
Rich
out
was
there.
able to get it at $342. Sounds like a bargain. So that will be a change order to the town, so that will increase the project costs.
So we
What is
still,
that coverage for?
That's builder's risk insurance. So that's while the building's being built and isn't covered by your liability and your general liability insurance later on, or fire policy, if a casualty event happens in the middle of construction and the building will have to be reconstructed, this policy covers you until it's finished and the owner's policy is in place.
And why the term terrorism?
In case somebody decides to break into the project site and cause a fire, arson would be a form of terrorism, damage,
Okay.
intentional damage of the property.
They just-
Policy broadly covers any kind of damage from an externality, right? Even pilferage. If somebody went onto the site and just stole the copper off the side of something, the builder's risk would cover that. So it's any damage from an element beyond the purview of the project.
Yeah,
Just
the
out of-
tourism rider was like $4,000.
$4,000.
It was small money. It really was worth
Just
it.
thought it was an odd term.
Yeah, I understand. That's insurance companies for you.
so we had no line item for it at all?
I have it in the owner's budget because we intended the owner to carry it.
So we
We had $165,000.
so this is less than 165?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So
So
we're,
we have a very robust hard cost contingency on the owner's side.
Yep.
Because the savings, so we're okay. We can cover this easily.
okay, so we have it in the contingency.
And then the next is number 12, design build irrigation. We just put it as a placeholder. We know we need your, we're gonna go back to the drawing board on that. 13, septic redesign. Those redesign drawings have added scope. They're being priced right now, so we don't have a price on that yet. And number 14.
Wasn't that what we were talking about before? The
Yep.
5,000?
Hmm?
That's the isn't that the 5,000, the septic
But that
redesign?
was for the context redesign. Now we have the actual hard cost construction.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's a good point. Yeah.
Chris isn't gonna
So
go
it's not
dig it
just gonna be
bigger?
free for the extra pipe and the dosing and the pump chamber? Come on, guys.
Yeah, so that's just to give you a heads up. So we'll be presenting this to you once a month, just so you're in the know of what's happening on the project.
Beautiful.
All right? That is, and then we don't have a change order one just yet. It will be coming in a week. And then requisition one, as I mentioned, was sent in yesterday to be processed on next week's warrant.
Great. Awesome.
I'll stop talking.
So,
That was good. Well, thank you, Brian. Very thorough.
just following up, so we have a process for approving the change orders, and we have a signatory that can actually go do that.
Yep, so I've been signing these. Anything that's in gray, I have seen, reviewed, and signed off on.
Yes, we have a signature page on the, what we call PCOs. Those are proposed change orders. They get, once they get approved, they get aggregated into a change order once a month.
Okay.
So the way that goes is I see it, same time as Chris, and then Chris sort of looks to me for, go ahead, I agree. Chris reviews it, he signs it as the architect, he has to sign. And then after Chris is done, it goes to Justin.
Yep.
And then after Justin's done, then Bill signs.
Haven't heard anything, want to make sure it was actually working.
It's working smoothly, actually.
Yep.
And then, so the change order, so the actual change orders will come here, though, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah,
Or-
the signature line for the town is going to be the select board chair
Okay.
for the change orders, so we will have to take those. to
We'll take the
select
vote here to recommend the change order. Okay, great, cool. Yep. Thanks for reviewing that process again with us.
Mhm.
Contacts, you're up.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Bill. Has everyone met Andrew at this table?
Hello, Andrew. Welcome aboard.
Andrew is the project manager on the project, so he's on the job full-time. Rich is used to talking to him, hearing from numerous times a day. I'll have Andrew just give an update on where we are with all our paperwork on the project, but it's going pretty well. We have weekly meetings. We have independent meetings with WT Rich to go over any hot list items before our regular weekly meetings.
Great.
So far, we've had a number of RFIs, which is not atypical at all. We've been able to address them. Our consultants are fully engaged in the CA process as well. We'll be having our first inspection by structural the beginning of August of the public safety building.
Great.
Geotech is sort of now backed out of the project because we've done most of the geotech work to date. They were on site for 40 some odd days, I think. Just verifying all the base materials and any questions that were raised, including the ledge that was discovered.
Yeah, McPhail will be back on site for interior footings once that gets started again. And then when Town Hall comes back, not back online, but when the footings start there.
Yep.
In terms of submittals, we've got quite a few out there. We're responding to them as quickly as we can with the help of WT Rich, identifying their hot list, focusing on steel at the moment for public safety building,
Sure.
and then structural items for town hall following that. Making good progress. We are preparing internally for this committee to review interior finishes, selected interior finishes, and we'll be preparing a mock-up wall for the committee to review as well with materials.
Exterior or interior?
Exterior
Okay, good.
mock-up wall. It'll
Yep,
be
yep.
constructed on site next to the construction trailers.
Cool.
So we'll have to schedule a time for a review of that on
Sounds
site.
good.
We will be doing panels for the masonry, so that's
Yes.
not going, that'll advance before the mock-up is finished. The mock-up is really for constructability.
Okay.
And a glimpse of what the, a piece of what the building would look like,
Yep.
but the actual sign-off of masonry will be done with masonry panels.
Color will be
Color.
done
Yes.
on
Right.
panels
Yeah.
instead of on the mock-up.
Yes.
Okay, oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Yep, I see what you're saying.
The mock-up will have the shape of the building, but won't have the colors, the final colors of the building.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
So
Thanks
when
for
you drive
clarifying.
by and you go, what?
What the hell's going on? Yeah.
Pink brick?
That's what parts of the town.
Brian? Justin, what's going on here? Why are we pink? All right. that
We
sounds
liked the
good.
Barbie movie.
Yeah, all right.
Want cost savings.
All right, I think everything else we covered, actually, I think PCA probably covered everything else, the generator location, Amendment
Yeah,
8 and
exactly.
Amendment 11.
Yep.
Couldn't have done it without a lot of help. Andrew's been drawing and drawing and drawing.
I have seen a few iterations myself, so yes, he has been. Cool. Anything else on your end, guys?
Nope.
Great.
We're good.
Okey dokes. All right, WT Rich Company. Your update.
So I'll give you a little update. Brian touched on most of it.
He took your
earlier.
thunder because you have the video up, so that's unfortunate. He already played it.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, that's not fair. You're the one's doing the
Foundations.
work, Brian. You gotta at least let him
We'll
finish.
do reverse one of these months, right?
it's fine.
Yes, yeah, we'll,
Good.
next month we'll shake it up. And we'll have you go first.
Foundations are ongoing.
Yep.
First week in August, we'll be over on Town Hall doing footings.
Yep.
Completing the rest of the interior footings over at Public Safety. We think steel delivery will be September 3rd,
Oh, wow, great.
so we are gaining some time on that.
Beautiful.
All in all, we're on schedule, we're on budget. Things are moving quick out there. Weather's cooperating, so we're in very good shape with that. Buyout summary. Currently, we have Division 10 specialties to finish up. We're very, very close with that. And a little bit of Division 11, some miscellaneous specialties in there as well. So we're close. I would say within the next week, we'll be presenting a request to award over to the building committee. Permit status-wise, our surveyors are currently working on the as-built drawing for the public safety building so that we can submit building and inspectional services for our building permit.
Perfect.
So it'll be done in two phases. First, public safety, which is 99 South Main. We'll get that permit for that, and then we'll do an as-built when we finish up the foundations for Town Hall
Yep.
and apply for that permit. And on WBE, MBE goals, we are still early in the process. We're seeking to get input from our subcontractors. Being recently awarded, they're still buying out their project as well on their end, so they don't really know exactly who they're using yet, but
For vendors, so
the
so
vendors,
material
yeah.
supplier vendors count towards our MBWBE
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah.
So they're, so right now they know where they are with the companies, but they don't know where they are with their subs and the vendors, so that's what they're working on.
so we'll know more in the next few months. As you know, it is a goal. I don't know that we'll achieve the goal, but we'll be, somewhere reasonably in the range.
The WT Rich did an excellent job during the, when they were buying out their scopes or bidding out their scopes to do outreach. And that's what the state SDO office wants to see, that we've gone through their database, that they have to make 3 attempts to reach out to companies that are either women-owned or minority-owned that could offer services to the project, and they did a fantastic job. So right now, we're going to see how close we can get to the goal. If we fall short, we'll present all of the work that they did to outreach to SDO, which is what we're obligated to do.
Great,
So we'll be in compliance with that requirement.
great. Okay,
That's all I got. Thank you.
awesome. Other topics, meeting minutes approval. Everybody?
I was just going to ask, so we obviously have concerns around getting power and everything else on site time. Are there any updates or anything, any changes to how we're going to work around the fact that transformers and things won't be on site until after?
Yeah, we sort of put it to Mel. We were, we wanted to get a very clear answer from them, And they came back and said, when you need full power, we will provide you full power. And, you know,
I
so
like that answer.
they have told us emphatically that they will figure it out.
Beautiful.
They will make sure that they're not holding up the project. So I don't know what their workaround is. I don't know how they will
Temporary
achieve it, but
temporary generator, it was
I mean,
temporary.
it's not changing the permanent transformer. That is going to be late. So honestly, I don't really fully understand how they're going to achieve it, but they do have a plan, and they feel like they can achieve it.
This would be something like temp equipment, like you said.
Yeah, it's gonna be temp equipment, right? Yeah, I would imagine.
And we're working closely with them as well
Yeah.
on a, weekly basis.
Sure.
With temp power. We need temp power to the buildings, each building, so.
Yeah, they've been really great to work with. Very cooperative, very helpful. So
Great,
nothing but great things to say.
beautiful.
We set aside a bunch of money to help address that, or at least to make that work in terms of temporary solutions. Is that something where we're going to be paying Meld and that's going to be coming out of that, or is that looking like it's going to be untouched at this point?
I don't know yet. It's hard to say because it's not completely clear what that solution is. So far, everything that Meld has done to bring in new service and the new poles, we haven't heard anything about any costs. So they've been, like I said, they've been outstanding. You know, the temporary power pole, we're using it for the webcam. You know, so they allowed us to do that. And anything we've ever needed, they're like, sure. When do you need us to be there?
That's awesome.
It's
It's a little different than dealing with National Grid, huh?
It's
Just a touch bit
yes,
different? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good partners, no question about it.
Outstanding, yeah.
I've
Very-
worked out,
very
I've
happy
always,
to have them.
I've always worked with towns with municipal light plants, and they've always been outstanding, and I'm sure Mel does the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for
It's
sure.
been good to deal with on the generator, so I'd assume that the group's the same.
Yeah, I mean, we were asking for a lot of information, and they're very responsive, so.
Great.
All good.
That's all we can ask for. All right, I think the only thing I have left is meeting minutes approval from our May 22nd meeting. Do I have a motion? Have everybody read?
I issued a revision, Kyle.
based on Kyle's
so
revisions.
Just before the meeting, I did send out the revision. Thank you, Kyle, for the
Yep,
review.
I read that.
Yep.
I move that the committee approve the meeting minutes from May 22nd as amended by Brian.
I second it. Did you say you sent out the?
We did.
Okay.
George was listed as an attendee for the last meeting.
Yeah, I sent them out about a month ago, and then we just had an attendance, a typo on the
Okay,
attendance. We
okay.
had George shown there, which we should
Good
have.
at that, aren't you?
It was an obvious one, so.
All in favor, folks?
Aye.
Aye. Moves unanimously. Unless there's anything else that anybody else has,
Meeting again.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
let's chat about next meeting.
Thank you.
So we need one in August, right? What do we think?
Yes, we will, because we need to resolve the gazebo, not the gazebo, the parking, the alternate two parking. We'll have had to have a vote before September.
So are we thinking 28th, which I may be gone, or the 21st?
I think we were looking at the 27th because of a conflict with the 28th,
Okay.
which is the Tuesday.
Yeah, I see that. All right, let's book it. Does that work for everybody else?
What did you like? I didn't hear it.
August 27th, Tuesday, August 27th?
Looks good.
All right, let's do
Sure.
it.
First day of Masco.
I'll confirm, I'll send an email tomorrow so we can confirm Frank and Nick too.
Yep, cool. All right.
So shameless plug, I do have a project blog, and I have to say that the posts are pretty good. So if
I
you
like
want to
to-
follow the project.
Oh, he's giving a
on
project blog.
Instagram.
Do you have it up on the screen?
Great
You'll
on
see the blog. I try and get a blog in every few weeks.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, please go to,
Yeah, so we have the
Middleton-
groundbreaking, we had the photos to memorialize the the coming down of the clubhouse.
very cool.
But we have a write-up, sort of almost like a news
Little news.
article on different things going on the project. When
Right
the
on.
first foundations were laid for the public safety,
Cool.
for the removal of this and so forth.
I totally didn't pick up on the blog when I poke around on that website. I'll have to check them out.
It's at the bottom of the construction tab, but if you are
Yeah.
a follower of our Facebook and Instagram, you'll get it.
Oh,
We
okay.
had an issue, it wasn't pushing notifications, which
Gotcha.
we fixed, so. Jackie, I think, was the only one that was reading it.
There you go. That's good. That's
Number one
interesting.
Instagram follower.
I'm
The website has
fine
had
on
a
number
lot of
2.
hits.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, we received over 1,000 hits on the website in the last 30 days.
That's good.
That's
So
great.
again, website is middleton-mmc.com.
Yes, it is.
Look at that. So
And the
please check it
construction
out.
page.
And it's linked from our website.
You can also get it at the town webpage if you're so interested in seeing the cool things that are going on in that time-lapse video, which will get even cooler as we get further into the project.
Yeah, we update the photos weekly. We'll put the time-lapse video will be updated there and the blog every few weeks.
I like it.
This is on the construction page where people will see the kind of the most activity aside from like documents getting posted. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I like it.
Okay.
Okey dokes.
Move to adjourn.
So moved. Folks, thank you very much. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you.